So I'm back again with yet another episode of Vinyl Finds, and I'll be going through some more of the records that I've picked up over the last few months. And I have excluded some of my recent finds because they will be included in a video that I'm planning at the moment and will post hopefully soon, which will be about acid folk, sort of an introduction to the genre and collecting it. So I have excluded some, not to talk too much about the same records, but we still got a good chunk to go through today. What we can start with is what we're currently listening to, which is Children of One, and I'm not sure if you can hear it. This is actually the second time that I'm recording this video, because the first time I had the speakers cranked too high and you could like barely hear what I was saying, or it was very annoying to listen to. So I have turned it down, so hopefully it's not too quiet. But maybe you can make out at least some of it. But what this is it's mainly instrumental. There are some vocals, but there's no like lyrics. It's just like humming and harmonizing and stuff like that. But it is very Eastern influenced, so there's a lot of instruments like sitars and stuff like that. Also a lot of Eastern melodies. I'm not sure if there are specific Eastern melodies, but it has a very Eastern vibe. It does here on this reissue by Survival Research say obscure psych rock delights for acid fans, heavily influenced by the so-called Eastern trend. This quartet from New York picked several typical Indian instruments like sitar, tablas and others. Improvisation is largely present in their songs, and overall the feeling is that of a really forgotten gem that ranks up there with the best production of that era. Recommended for all obscure US psychedelic rock fans out there. And I wouldn't say this is psychedelic rock at all. Maybe that's the moral of the story, to never listen to the hype stickers, because they're just trying to sell you stuff. But it is definitely psychedelic, and it is part of the acid archives. And I know that in there it says a communal head trip, and I think that's a really good summary of it. It is very good. I really like it, but it's not psychedelic rock. It is instrumental improv, very atmospheric, and I think that you really need to slow down and take it easy and just let the music wash over you, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. In the acid archives they also liken it to Furekaben. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but the Danish sort of acid folk gem that is a bit darker and more Nordic, but I guess there are a lot of similarities between those two. But moving on, we got the Quicksilver Messenger service with Happy Trails, and I guess I have a bit of a history with this record. I had always seen it on these best psychedelic records, or mostly like cheap psychedelic records or cheap psych records to get. And when I heard about it first, I just sampled it and I just didn't really understand what everyone liked so much about it. But I saw this at a record fair for a good price, so I decided I'll pick it up and try it out. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I guess it is not really a record that you can sort of sample, because it is basically just one long suite. And I do think you really need to slow down and just tune in, turn off, drop out, or however that saying goes. And I'm sure you will understand how good this record is. And I do believe that these guys at the time of recording this were living on a ranch, riding horses, shooting guns, playing music, dropping acid, smoking weed. And I think if you start to picture that and imagine that, you can sort of build the atmosphere, and the record transforms into a very interesting piece. So now I am sold on it, and I will say, if you want a cheap psych record, this is where to go. Moving on, I'm actually gonna go into two records which are sort of connected, maybe not too much, but in my mind there are. Firstly is this Simande, whatever it's called. So basically I was just scrolling YouTube, saw this song, which was Dove from this record. Not sure why I decided to listen to it, but I did, and it was really good. It sounds like you're just downtown, taking it really chill, cruising, it's hot outside, the vibes are on top, really laid back, and all that stuff. And I guess a bit similar to the previous record, it is very atmospheric. It has a different atmosphere, more, I don't know, I guess Quicksilver Messenger Service was California, so I can't really say more Californian. As for the music, I guess it's funk rock, psychedelic funk rock, sort of like early Funkadelic, bit of Maggot Brain. So it is definitely more rock than funk. Has some really good guitar work on here, really good percussion, and that's what I start to like with these records, is the percussion, because it's so, you can really feel it. And that goes into the next record, which is this guy, Osibi Rock by Osibisa. I bought this because I really liked the previous one, and this, for some reason, I thought this was going to be similar, and it is quite similar, but this is more funky, Afro beaty. You can see the backside here, hopefully. As I said, more funky, Afro beat, but still has that really strong percussion, a bit less of the psychedelic guitar. This isn't psychedelic at all, I would say. More happy funk rock. It feels like you're invited to the party when listening to this one, and I do recommend it, but you can skip the first song because I didn't like it. Or you shouldn't skip it because I didn't like it, but I didn't like it, so I won't recommend it. Moving on, we got this guy, which I guess everyone is familiar with, and I've actually, it's weird that I've waited this long to pick it up. Well, now I had it for a few months, but it's weird that I waited this long because it is such a good record, but it sort of became neglected. But then when I put it on after I bought it, like I knew the words to every single song, and it just felt like, how could I not have picked up this earlier? And I don't know why I didn't, but now I have it, and it is incredible. I really do like Norwegian Wood. That is probably my favorite song. Just the sitar and the interesting lyrics, I guess you could say. And it does feel like an acid folk song with that sort of sitar, very akin to Donovan, which I guess, I'm not sure if they had met yet. I don't know what Donovan was doing in '65. Yeah, I have no idea if they had met, but it does feel very Donovan, which we'll actually get into now. I got two records, Four Little Ones and Sunshine Superman. We'll start with the first one, which was of course Sunshine Superman. A record that I really do like. Got it for a cheap price. And I got it for a cheap price, and I really like it. Actually have grown to like it more and more and more. At first, my favorite songs were like Legend of a Girl Child Linda, which I've had on my playlist for a long time. So that was really like the only song I listened to, because I'm not that big of a fan of Sunshine Superman and Season of the Witch, which are probably like the biggest tracks of this record. So I thought maybe. But when I bought it and listened through it a lot of times, I've really grown to like Ferris Wheel and Celeste. Both of those songs has a really good feel very laid back, and especially now that it's getting warmer outside, for some reason I think of just, you know, that first realization when it's summer, that you feel the heat on your skin and like, damn, it's really summer. That's a very bad description of this music, but very good. I guess this quote on the back of it can do a better job in summarizing this music. Dedicated to the bearer of the Eastern gift. I guess that's all you need to know about it. And as I said, it is quite similar to Norwegian Wood. So yeah, Donovan Sunshine Superman. I did also have a second Donovan record, which was For Little Ones, part of the box set, the second part of the box set, A Gift from a Flower to a Garden, I believe it's called. The first part is more psyche. This second part is actually children's songs, but I do think they have a very good psychedelic quality to them, even though they are children's songs. And they really sort of put you in the headspace of a child, which may sound weird, but it gives you sort of that childlike awe and wonder of simple things, like just looking at the tree can, if you're in the right headspace, be a very like profound experience. And I do think this record sort of guides you into that headspace. If I'm gonna give you a song to sample from this, it's definitely the final one, Epistle from Daryl, I believe, or Epistle to Daryl. Definitely check that one out. It is incredible, and do check the whole album out because it is very good. Has a lot of like field recordings, so it's very atmospheric. But yeah, Donovan, For Little Ones. Moving on, we got one of my absolute favorite psych records, and that is Country Joe and D Fish. I feel like I am fixing to die. The whole record is really good. Maybe I'm not too keen on the first track, which is maybe the most famous one. I do like it for what it is, but it's like musically it's not super interesting. But my favorite songs are definitely Who Am I, which is very laid back. It's pretty sad, but it is really good. Then on side 2 begins with Janice, which is a very summery, bit brighter song. It's very good. And then Thought Dream, which after the intro goes into a incredible song. And for some reason when I listen to it, it literally feels like I am the guitar string, and I can feel myself like being plucked to the music, and it's very good. And try imagine yourself as a guitar string and listen to that song, and I'm sure you will experience something incredible. But yeah, Country Joe and the Fish. I do prefer this record to their first one, although the first one is incredible. Sometimes it can get a bit too screechy. I don't know if it's the recording or whatever it is, or if it's just how it's supposed to sound, but that is a tad bit too screamy at times. This tones it down slightly. I guess the guitars sound a bit weird here too at times, but it's still incredible. It's Country Joe and the Fish. Got 3 records left. Firstly, we got Joni Mitchell. This is a bootleg. I show you just the cover here. It is painted with a Sharpie, not by me, it was like this when I bought it. And it has a lot of songs from the 69 period, or pre-69. This was according to this person who drew the cover, Live 69. It does say here on the inner sleeve, it says LA 69 in parentheses NY. So I'm not sure if it's New York or LA, one of the two I guess, but recorded in 69. So there are just the standard Joni Mitchell 69 songs, but she does also do a cover of Get Together, the Youngblood song. Haven't listened too much to the Youngbloods version, but the Jefferson Airplane version is really good. So it's nice to hear Joni Mitchell, or hear her rendition of it as well. And I guess if you want to hear that cover, I believe it's available on some of the Joni Mitchell archive box set series. So so you can actually stream it as well. You don't have to find this bootleg to hear it. Moving on, we got the Pentangle. This is their first record, and it is fairly different compared to like Cruel Sister or Basket of Light. This is a lot more, I'm not gonna say primal, but this feels more organic. It isn't that as much focus on melodies, because it's not the traditional UK folk rock sound that you hear on later Pentangle and like Fairport Convention or stuff like that. This is a lot more focus on sound, I would say. Of course you have the great guitars of Janis and Renborn, but also incredible percussion, and when there's voice, that is also really good. So more focus on the sounds, which gives it a very psychedelic quality, very hypnotic, and incredible. I guess this sort of backside sums it up fairly well. Fusions of traditional folk forms, musical innovations, collective explorations, and the like. But anyways, that is the Pentangle with the Pentangle self-titled. And then the final record, we got 50 Foot Hose. And this is an incredible psychedelic record. It is a psychedelic rock record, like at its core, because it has very strong songwriting, especially on songs like Rose, If Not This Time. But it is very experimental still. It has a very electronic sound, and it was like an early example of synthesizers being used, and there's a lot of like cool instruments on here, as you can see or as I can see here. It says audio generator, echolet, whatever that is, squeaky box, sirens, oscillator circus, prepared guitars, prepared pianos, speakers as an instrument. That's cool. But yeah, so there's a lot of different experimental out there sounds, but as I also said, it's still rooted in some good songwriting, so it's not just like some random avant-garde shit or stuff. Sorry. It still has really good songwriting. So even though there is good songwriting, good songs, it is still kind of out there and a bit challenging at times. So you do need to be in the right mood for it. But when you are, it's incredible. Those songs that I mentioned previously, they are not super challenging, so I'm sure anybody could enjoy those. But some other parts definitely goes a bit deeper, and you need to be in the right mood for those. But overall, a very good record, and there's not much that sounds like it. It's very unique, and for that I really like it. Not only for that, for a lot of different reasons. mainly for this just very experimental approach, but it doesn't feel like exploitative or that they just experiment for the sake of experiment. It feels like they have a vision. Maybe they didn't, but it does feel like it when you're listening to it. So with that was everything. You can leave a like if you want to. You can subscribe, and if you do subscribe, you won't miss the record or the video on Acid Folk that I will post in a week or two, hopefully. And as always, you can leave a comment if you like any of these records, or if you hate them. I would like to know why. But with that being said, I think I'll see you in the next video. Peace.